Romans chapter 12, verse 2, and it says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." When it comes to this chapter and verse of Romans, it's clearly about being transformed, right? It's about transformation. It's about the renewal of your mind, right? To prove what is good, what's acceptable, and, being perfect in the will of God. Like, we don't got to be perfect from a standpoint of the world, but to try and be perfect, in the will of the Most High, right? To do His will, to avoid sinning, right? Following and abiding by the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Now, I want to get in to the context, the meaning of Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And it says that Paul is urging, believers to respond to God's mercy, His forgiveness of our sin, and His inclusion of us in His family. The appropriate reaction would be offering to Him our entire lives as a form of living, breathing sacrifice. Paul writes that we must no longer be conformed to the world. The word world is often used in the New Testament to refer to the world system, or the way that every human being lives by default. John described this worldly way of living as the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and the pride of life. And it actually states that in John 1 of chapter 2, verse 16, right? For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, and is not of the Father, but is of the world. So by instinct, all of us chase those things in pursuit of happiness and meaning. He then tells us to abandon the chase for pleasure, possessions, and status, to stop living like everyone else. Instead, we are urged to be transformed from the inside out. Specifically, he writes that we must be changed in how we think, to have our minds renewed, so that we can begin to understand God's will for our lives. And the Lord may continue to provide us with pleasure, possessions, and status in various forms. But He urges us to learn how to look at life with a new question. For those that are new in the Word of the Most High, you're just now reading the Bible, you're just trying to get your life on the right track. And trust me, I've been in your shoes. I've been where you were at before, just trying to get my life on track, trying to live my life through Christ. These are very important questions to ask, right? And important questions to be answered. What does God want for me? Right? What is truly a good, acceptable, perfect use of your life for his purposes and not just for your own. And to answer that question, that definitely requires prayer, requires you to fast, requires you to really have alone time with the Lord and really not be around people too much. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, this is your life. We all have a calling, we all have a purpose to be fulfilled. And discovering our purpose in life, it's not overnight. It takes a lot of time. But in order for us to start to fulfill our purpose, we have to become transformed by the renewal of the mind. That is key to adhere to God's calling for your life.